Elaine Cooper. I'm 71 and a half, and I'm retired from ETV. I have a distinct memory that I would like to share. Representative Joe Neal was a very, very dear friend of mine. And somehow we had made connections and got the information and went down to Charleston for Mother Emanuel funeral that President Obama was at. And so during the service, I had to go out in the hallway to look, just to take a break. And Joe Neal was coming down that hallway at the other end. And we just embraced. I cannot tell you the heartfelt embrace and crying at that event. You know, and that was the atmosphere from everybody in that funeral service. So I just wanted to share that for people because Representative Joe Neal is no longer with us. And it was just a very intimate, very powerful moment, very emotional. Well, we got some, we arrived at the wee hours of the morning and noticed security was pretty intense there. And very intense security. And actually they moved people to different sides of the building who were there for the wee hours. We arrived because, you know, we were trying to get a good seat. But though I'm sure everyone was assigned their seats beforehand, we were just regular folks who were attending the service. But somehow we got in some pretty good seats. And it was just, there's no words to describe, you know, it other than I think I summed it up in that moment of that embrace with Representative Joe Neal. For those who don't remember him, you know, he was a black representative in South Carolina for so many years, and obviously knew Senator Pinckney very well. I was there at the State House asking Joe Neal if he wanted us to get him some coffee to keep him going. And so I stepped outside for a little bit while my husband stayed inside for some of the more memorable moments at the State House. As I stepped outside, I'm not making it up, I was body slammed by a white supremacist, and CNN rushed over to me and said, "We caught it on camera. We would like to interview you." I should have calmed down, but I was, you know, that was a very emotional experience to be body slammed by a white supremacist. Everyone did their research on him, and that was the atmosphere when the flag was going down. Just some of the most extreme, hateful human beings were right there at the State House. And in some of those early walks, my son, you know, definitely walked in some of the very early walks when we walked along Main Street on the way to the State House. And I remember my son was so young, he was wondering, what are we doing here? And you know, the ladies around him told him, "Son, this is one of the most important walks you'll have in your life." But I do remember during that walk that people were hanging effigies or whatever of, you know, black folks from the windows as we were walking to the State House. There was extreme, just the extreme was on the hate side from people who were racist, white supremacists. I am with Moms Demand Action for Gun Sense, and it's uplifting to me to see how many young people in high schools, especially in Beaufort County, who have risen, and actually they're part of even an important documentary film that hit the streaming areas, that they've taken the message and realized that they've lived their entire life under gun violence threats and are now taking action. That's different than my generation. And I think Mother Emanuel did that for folks. And I think another thing Mother Emanuel has done that the takeaway is for people to forgive. And I've seen people forgive in all kinds of scenarios since then when a loved one has been shot. And that's remarkable. Well, another thing that was shocking to me is that Dylan Roof went to a high school that my son went to, AC Flora, that literally is less than a mile from my house. And to realize that someone that hateful lived that close, it really touched a nerve, so to speak. No, we're doing far worse. Far, far, far worse. I never would have ever imagined in my lifetime. Are you kidding me? Really. It's going to take a long time for the United States to heal from this divide. Not in my lifetime, perhaps. That's how severe I see it. One thing I would like to talk about or leave you with is, seriously, why go to church if you insist on carrying a gun with you everywhere? Why bother to believe in God if you insist on carrying a gun with you? If you have so much fear of your fellow human being, please don't go to church. Don't go to a place of worship, because you totally have missed the message. One last thing. So I grew up in the south side of Chicago. Couldn't be more inner city. I've had guns stuck in my face. I've been threatened with guns through my lifetime. And just to let you know that my family firmly believed in never owning a gun. We never did. Never shot a gun. Never handled a gun. Never will.